Hi, this is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to The Krypton
Report, the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report. Today's episode is brought to you by the Southgate Media Group Krypton Report Holiday Guide. The holidays are right around the corner, so check out our link for our holiday guide. We here, James, Jania, Brian, and myself, have picked some lovely items and added to our holiday shopping. And for those who are looking for gift ideas for the Superman fan in your life, as well as you can check out the Capes and Lunatics holiday guide as well, or any of the other shows on Southgate Media. But it's almost Thanksgiving time, so you know what that means? It's almost Thanksgiving time, so we're all hungry for turkey, and I'm rambling. So James, what's up, man?
How's it going?
It's going good, Mr. James Cole. The muscles from Toledo. I don't know why. It's like that meme I sent you. I was like, Tyler, when he's stressed, and it's the picture of the Grinch eating all that spaghetti. James, when he's stressed, it's like a roided out Bane. Like,
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, so let's see what we got going on in the DC neck of the world. Let's see.
Inspector Gadget.
As of today, as we're recording this, actually some stuff happened today. Like, that's what's neat. Batman Soul of the Dragon trailer dropped. And that's cool, because I was actually looking for it the other day, because what I usually do is I usually pre-order all the stuff on Amazon, because then I don't really have to think about it, and plus Amazon don't charge you till it actually ships. So I was like, man,
you got to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I have the money there, but
if it doesn't, then it just gets declined, and I'm like, oh, cool. But I was thinking about it, just like, man, I haven't seen anything from this or heard anything, and it's not on Amazon. And then they dropped the trailer today, and it looks good. Very 70s retro, you know.
It seems like it's like a 70s almost martial arts animated film.
So I mean, I'm excited because, you know, I like all these films, so I'm game.
Well, they've got some of the best DC hand-to-hand combatants in it as well. I mean, Shiva, Bronze Tiger, Richard Dragon, and Batman.
Which is such an interesting combination.
Yeah, but that's an awesome lineup.
Yes.
Man, to see you'd have to get a hell of a stunt coordinator and action martial arts coordinator.
I mean,
to make that
work.
Just BA in animation or especially in live action.
You'd probably be one of those where
that would be so cool to see, though.
The stunt coordinator is like one of the people. Just kind of like, I know that Donnie Yen is big on if he's in something, he does a lot of the stunt coordinating for it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
It would
love to see that live action.
Yeah, especially considering like we got Michael Jai White in there as the voice, and we've seen him, you know, in DC and other comic book.
He was Bronze Tiger and Arrow.
Yep, and he should have done more. They should have utilized him more, but I feel like they didn't.
I mean, he's been in a lot of action movies, and he does a lot of those.
He was Gamble in the Dark
action
Knight
movies.
He's
Yeah.
Gambler in the Dark Knight. He was Spawn, man. Let's not forget.
He was Spawn. Yeah.
Wanda! It's always what I think of when I think of like that Spawn movie.
Yeah. He's in a lot of those lower budget action movies.
Universal Soldier, the 500th.
You can find a bunch of them for free on different streaming apps.
Yep. So,
But he's a serious martial artist, man. He was damn good when he was doing his thing, competing in martial arts.
he was Black Dynamite. Dynamite! Dynamite! That was a funny movie. It was hilarious. I'm not even going to reveal the twist. But yeah, this is a great lineup. I look forward to watching this movie. I will purchase it because I buy them all. Because, I hate to say this and sound like I don't trust streaming services, okay? Unless it's an original content by that streaming service, you never know if they're going to lose it or drop it. Like, for instance, right now I was thinking about Thanksgiving, okay? And one of my favorite things back when I'd visit my parents and had cable and all that was FX used to do that 70s show Thanksgiving Marathon, where they would play all their Thanksgiving episodes. And I was like, man, where's that streaming? It's not streaming anywhere. I even looked on iTunes to see if it's there to buy, and it's not there. Because, like on iTunes, some shows do like holiday packages. Like Teen Titans Go, you can buy like a package of all their holiday episodes. Friends,
I have that.
yeah, I do too. Friends has their holiday package you can buy. It has all their Christmas and Thanksgiving episodes.
That's convenient, but I have all the DVDs.
Yeah, I used to. Same thing with that 70s show. I used to until that lovely time where I sold all my stuff to purchase recording time to,
Yeah, I have I have the entire series of that 70s show. I want to actually get them all, DVDs of, Friends and that 70s show. I want to get them all ripped and saved.
Yeah, I want all the DVDs again because as we've learned, and like for those who are just all about, first of all, we just proved that, you can't count on streaming services because that 70s show is not streaming anywhere, nor is it digitally to buy on iTunes, which is weird.
You can buy it on Amazon Prime.
That's what I figured.
I actually just looked that up earlier today.
I was actually looking it up now as we're talking.
Which is interesting because when I bought the complete series, I bought it for like $30 maybe. I bought the box set, like the complete series, and it's like $30 a season on Prime.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy how stuff like that goes. We could go down that rabbit hole because I have a couple of things to make comments about with that. But my thing is, so like I just bought. I was thinking about this because I didn't have the first season, so I just bought Justice League Unlimited. I had Justice League Unlimited season 2 still on DVD. I used to have it, but I didn't have it anymore. And I just bought it on Blu-ray for the whole series because I don't know if that's one of the things that's going to go over to
HBO Max.
Yeah, and that series is one of those is constantly like a default show to watch.
Man, it needs to.
Because I'm thinking about working my way back through it and Justice League. I had something else I was going to say. Oh, if anyone's watching Smallville on Hulu and you listen to the Always Hold On to Smallville podcast, they'll point out little things where on the digital streaming version they've changed things compared to the physical media DVD. And that's one reason why I like having my hard copies. I mean, Star Wars is another one that's infamous. when it appeared on, was it last year when it appeared on Disney Plus? They had made another edit to the Han Solo and Greedo, and everyone who owned a digital copy of it, their digital copy was, changed to that version.
Updated to the latest version.
Yeah. So, I think it was Brian who told me that he had bought digitally, I think it was Batman 89, and then when they released the 4Ks and everything, his versions were updated to the 4K remastered, which that's great, don't get me wrong, because you get the improved sound and picture. But I like having my hard copies just because, but that's a rabbit hole.
Like my friend's DVDs, it's got footage you can't see anywhere else, and it wasn't aired on TV with that footage, and anything released since the digital, the streaming versions of Friends or the Blu-ray, which was remastered, was the original aired things. So you don't get that. You don't get the added footage on anything else but the DVD set that I've got.
It's crazy. It's just. But all right, what other news can we go on before we just keep going down rabbit holes here?
Keep picking up things that are different in different places.
Yeah, it drives you insane when you find out there's this cut for this print. I mean, just like I have the 3-hour cut of Superman from the TV, and listening to people talk about how there's this cut for the TV version of Superman 2, you're just like, dear Lord.
Well, I just came across a podcast. Speaking of an older movie and TV edits, I just came across a podcast within the last couple of days, Halloweenies or something.
Okay.
And they started with the Halloween franchise. Yeah, Halloweenies. And they started with the Halloween franchise, and especially with Halloween 2, they're talking about all the different edits, the TV edit versus the theatrical and international, and just 2 or 3 different scenes in different versions of the film.
Yep, sounds about right. And the thing is, it's crazy. We'll never experience that anymore because there's no more
And unless you
TV.
hunt down the older different versions and.
Well, I was listening to a thing today where they're talking about, syndication and TV and stuff is for or dying because, everyone goes to streaming. So, back, you would watch, TBS, for our generation, was, the notorious for, you would watch TBS, but it would just show, all these sitcoms and everything. And you just kind of knew these shows because that's what came on when you were watching TV. And now, a whole generation, they'll never know this because it's all streaming, by choice. So,
right.
Let's move on. Okay, so.
And just as an FYI, you can cut this out if you want. Just that Halloweenies, they go through these horror franchises like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and they do breakdowns and lots of history and stuff because they actually have interviews for episodes. They have interviews with Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street and an interview with John Carpenter and stuff like that. So
I would listen to that. I need to go get that and listen to this. But what I was going to say is, so today, you know what today is, James?
November 17th.
It's the 3-year anniversary of Justice League.
Yes, sir.
And 3 years since the debut of Doomsday Clock, basically. But I was sitting there thinking, it's been 3 years since this movie came out, and we've been begging for the Snyder Cut. And I'm just thinking about what has gone on in my life.
Hashtag us united.
I'm looking at posters hanging on my wall right here that I got from AT&T that had the individual join the league. And it's crazy to think about. You know, like I remember that day, like getting off work and rushing to the theater. It was going to see Justice League with Jania, and it was a basically a date night for us, and it blows my mind, you know. But because it's the 3-year, I think Zack Snyder had to do something, and he released a trailer today, which is another teaser, but basically it's the same one that he showed at Fandom, but there's a few different scenes in there. And I have not watched the other one and this one to see what was replaced.
I don't think anything was replaced. I think there was only a handful of things that were added.
See, that's what I kind of wondered, because it uses the same song and I feel like the same musical cues and stuff.
So the only thing I saw that was maybe different, that might have been the only thing that I recognized that maybe was missing was a like literally like a frame or two where when it says like the baffled king, and then it shows Jason Momoa, like the frame where it shows like the outside of the door before he actually walks out of it, and then like that one frame all the way down the dock when you saw him walking out of there, like those two little parts. That's the only thing that I looks like it happens a little too quickly from the original.
Okay. All right.
Other than that, it looked all the same. It was just a couple of little added things.
So, speaking of the added things, we saw the full kind of shot of the hologram of Superman, like where, you know, before we had seen it and I teased where it's Batman, Bruce Wayne standing there, and it's like this digital thing that he's looking at, and it was red and flowing, and everybody before thought, oh, maybe it's Supergirl. I don't know, people get some weird ideas in their head.
Yeah, they do.
And we actually saw, and I don't know if you watch/listen to Zack Snyder today.
I did not get a chance to.
I was fortunate enough that my job.
I was at work.
My job for today was canceled because of COVID. Was not even beat around the bush. I watched it, and what it was Snyder going frame by frame of the trailer and talking about it and answering people's questions. So it was really interesting because people, you know, are asking questions, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. I am not going to attempt to break it down what he said unless we pull out something, because he went into detail. I mean, he spoke for over an hour about a 2-minute trailer. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, the man is talking about his, and it's neat to just hear him reference stuff and say, well, I heard that, you know, that this is what it was in the theatrical cut, because he still has not watched the theatrical cut. So it's just...
well, you know, I mean...
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't blame him if after his came out and, you know, it after his actual version comes out, or his improved version comes out. I mean, if you know what the reports are saying now, that it's going to be like likely of 4 minutes of additional footage that was shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the additional photography.
Exactly. So I mean, the rest was shot previously during principal photography for the film. So it's not like that's even gonna be something incredibly groundbreaking, but it's gonna be good. I mean, I have no doubt about that. But
I'm watching. I have the trailer pulled up right now, and I have it like together. I'm looking at it together, and yeah, like you said, the only thing that I'm seeing that was so far that was adjusted was the Aquaman, seeing him walk down the dock. You know, we get the so we got the added Superman scene. Then we get a scene that's added that I really like of kids playing football and Victor watching them through a window. That's kind of just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So Snyder talked about Barry, why he has no shoes when he saves Iris is because the friction and stuff, he just rips through them. And he's talking about why things happen to Barry, he needs his suit. The statue angel in the trailer where Victor's beating the ground is, you can find that same statue in both Sucker Punch and Watchmen.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my my thought was after he releases his version of Justice League, just out of curiosity, maybe all right, now that people have seen my movie, what did they do to my movie?
Yeah, I think that would be the time. Once you're able to heal, once you've been able to process.
But I also would not blame him in the least because, why would you want to see that? Because, it was something that happened at one of the darkest parts of your life.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I probably wouldn't want to, thinking about it a little more.
I found another part that's different.
Okay.
In the original trailer, we get. Wait, I could be wrong. Hold on, let me see. Victor. We don't. Okay, so in the new trailer, we get a shot of Batman, the Batmobile from the front, shooting guns, killing some parademons. That's not in the other trailer.
The shot of the Batmobile we do get is a different shot, though. And the gun comes up, and it's like a down over the. It's like just an up over the hood angle. And it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! Everything in this looks. This all looks so good. I was hoping, if we weren't going to get a full, new trailer, I was at least hoping that we would get, what do you call it? A release date.
Yeah.
That's kind of what everyone's hoping. And I have a friend who's saying that, that must mean that they're not going to release it till, November 17th of next year. I'm like, I highly doubt that. Because, it should not take them that long to...
A year to finish visual effects that were already started.
Yeah. So
for the, for the most part. The... these streaming services, they usually don't give out release dates for their shows and their movies and things like that until maybe just a few months out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a movie where they drop a release date 2 years in advance. And they're like, oh, yeah, coming in summer of, 2022. It's like...
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I feel like is probably happening here.
Okay, so that happened. Check that out. It's probably on YouTube or Vero. You can see what Zach said. The other thing is Zach said that when we see the Joker, he's going to be a different looking Joker. He's gonna not be too much of a departure from what we saw in Suicide Squad. It's going to be the same style and aesthetic, but it's going to be a little different. It's a little bit. So I'm like, okay, so you're just going to use the same Joker without the tattoos or something? Like, I'm curious about what we're going to see with this Zack Snyder version of the Joker.
Right. Yeah, I definitely want to see. I've wanted to see more of Jared Leto's Joker since Suicide Squad for the last 4 years. So to get him back in for something is exciting in my opinion, and I want to see what Zack does with them.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, and I'm sure it won't even look however I picture it.
So the next thing is, news-wise, is I guess the CW is now developing a Wonder Girl series, but it's going to be based off the newest Wonder Girl. That is coming up in the future state, right? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, she's the South American Wonder Girl. Yura Flora.
Cool. But my thing is, I don't know why. It's so weird to me when they want to like. We're already okay and comfortable with like the idea of changing. When you translate to another medium, like changing race and stuff like that. Why her? Like, what is going to be her story that's going to make it so impactful that you chose her? But
well, I mean, we got Diana in live action, and we've had multiple Wonder Girls in the comics, and any one of them. I mean, we got Donna Troy on, but they're not giving Cassie Sandsmark any love. But
right, that's and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Is like we could make Cassie like if you wanted to like.
But it's CW, and I mean they're huge on representation. So the fact that they're creating a South American Wonder Girl is right up their alley. And Donna's got Titans. Cassie has
nothing.
Young Justice, and this new one is going to be on the CW.
I just think it's interesting. I mean, kind of like we talked about before, like with the new Batwoman, is kind of like they've broken the mold that it's Batwoman, but she has no parameters. There's no comic like, oh, that's not how they did in the comic, or in the comic her story is this. She's completely new.
Ryan Wilder can go anywhere.
So it's kind of cool and kind of sucks at the same time.
As evidenced by the teaser trailer they released for Batwoman.
That was cool.
Yeah. It was pretty cool until she hung upside down and said boo, all smiley and joking.
That's cool. I mean, once again, like, it's not...
It just sticks out as a Bat character, like, But you can't really say that either because, Dick was like that. Tim was like that. Barbara was like that at different times. So, she's not Kate. She's not Bruce. She's not Jason. So.
Jason. But yeah, that's pretty much the news. So let's get into some comic reading. We need to catch up with our current comics so then we can get back into our Man of Steel. Because, man, we've had quite a long break from our Man of Steel reading. Thanks, life.
Right. Life and it's a lot to keep up on the current books. let alone, going back to reread something else as well.
Yeah. So it's been fun. But which one do you want to start off with? You want to kick off? Let's talk metal first. So I talk a lot, but metal's kind of been your big thing, My one thing was that I like that Superboy Prime is back. He appears in Dark Knight Metal 4, Death Metal 4. God, it's like a mouthful.
Dark Knight's Death Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. And I feel like that's two books this year that have brought back Superboy Prime. One, Metal, I think, is using him well, and the other one just kind of was like, oh, here he is, goodbye.
Right.
And I'll let you go. And go.
I haven't read that issue. Of Shazam yet. Well, yeah, Metal is really its own thing, I know you haven't been reading a whole lot of it except for like the mainline book.
Yeah.
But all of the Metal books, because it's not line wide. It's not like what Future State is going to be. Everything is still telling its stories, and Death Metal is telling its story. So the Justice League books, they feed into the narrative of Death Metal. The one-shots like Rise of the New God and Robin King, Trinity Crisis, Multiverse's End, Speed Metal, and Infinite Hour Extreme are tie-ins that are the entire story. I mean, they could literally add all of these issues to the full run of Death Metal. Mm-hmm. But unless they released them like one a week or something like that, it would take absolutely forever. So that's why they do some of the one shots to tell part of the story, the Justice League to tell part of the story, and they release it all. They can release multiple parts of the story in a single week.
I mean, that's
but
cool.
Yeah, so every part of every book feeds into the overall narrative of Death Metal. Like you brought up Superboy Prime showing up in Death Metal 4. Well, the reason he was there was because in Trinity Crisis, Wonder Woman takes Superman and Batman, and they go back to they go to the dark multiverse world where the Crisis on Infinite Earths is continuously happening. The Final Crisis Earth, where Final Crisis is continually happening, and Infinite Crisis. And Wonder Woman goes to the Infinite Crisis Earth, and that's where she comes into contact with Superboy Prime. And Superboy Prime says, I am Superboy Prime, and on these crisis worlds, Wonder Woman, you lost. So instead of winning the crisis, they lost. And that's how he's introduced back into Death Metal. And then like they've got Calvin Ellis and Multiverse's End, but all of them build into the overarching story of Death Metal. So that's why I'm really reading all of the books.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, and well, like the Justice League book, the characters in Justice League. Mm-hmm. So you know how Justice League was split. It was the Justice League, it was Justice League Dark, and it was Justice League Odyssey.
Yeah.
So there were characters doing all kinds of stuff. Well, in the Justice League book, you've got Nightwing, Cyborg, Starfire, Detective Chimp, and Hawkgirl as kind of like the team on the ground on Earth, because everybody else is doing so many different things across the multiverse. So like that's the team you follow in the Justice League book. They are all over.
When they did that, like split them like that, I kind of lost as much interest in it, just because I was like, I don't know. I like my Justice League.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that It's like there has to be that one point where I tell myself no.
Right.
Because like we were talking about, if not, you get hooked, and then you're down the rabbit hole of all these books. Like you go from, I just have a couple books in my pull to, I just dropped $9,000, babe.
Funny.
What'd you buy? Comics.
Right.
Like the day
I filled that other room with boxes of comics.
Like that day that a certain friend of ours, I will not mention, came over to my house and had said, yeah, I stopped at the comic book store and just spent $70. Don't tell my wife.
Don't tell my wife. Funny. At least she's not listening to this.
Yeah, so we're good.
Actually, it's funny when they split the books like that. I was reading Odyssey and Justice League Dark, and not the main Justice League book. I read Snyder's book, his run on it, but then I kind of fell off of it a little bit.
I feel like that's a tough. I mean, like, looking at comics as a whole, like I feel like Tom King is like become in a way like him and Scott Snyder kind of are DC. I feel like in a way because it feels like they have their hands on everything. And it's like if Scott Snyder touches a book, it becomes like a big deal. He's just earned a pedigree as a writer, and I feel like Tom King is like trying to get that too, because I feel like he's all over the place as well.
Yeah. But Snyder has really stepped up and in Death Metal written all of these characters very well. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. He's written them all really well. And there's been a lot of writers on this. Like Williamson writes Justice League. Tynan is on a one-shot there. Tomasi, Snyder's on a one-shot. Tynan on a one-shot. Williamson on a one-shot.
Well, isn't it, we're getting one that's going to be Snyder and Johns coming up next month?
Snyder and Johns.
Yeah, Jeff Johns and Snyder are doing one of the final Death Metal books.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I think it's either the last battle of the multiverse or
is that the
or the 52? I can't remember. But yeah, so it seems like everybody's trying to get in there. Why am I yawning so much?
Well, I mean, Death Metal's it's pretty big. It's a pretty big. The story is very large. It's quite full. Like I said, these books all connect. So it's a little different than some other events like, say, Joker War, where you got tie-ins with Red Hood and Batgirl, Nightwing, where it's like a single issue and it's a piece of the attached story. Just fills out the world a little bit. I mean, not necessarily like they all compile to be the resolution of the story. With Death Metal, like if you just read the mainline books, when you come back, like you're not going to know why this person is here or why, in issue 5, if you didn't read one of the one shots, you're not going to know why that person's there and what he's got and what it's for.
Yeah.
Because it's in one of the one shots.
That's why I talk to you.
Right.
Like I said, like Death Metal is a crisis without being a crisis. But,
yeah, it's like the crisis, and it's like the anti-crisis crisis is what it is.
It's kind of like how they were trying to do Convergence and say like it was like a crisis level event without using the C word, so they picked a different C word, and that's Convergence. But let's get into some other books here. Let's move on to Superman proper. last we spoke, we had talked about Superman 25, and it was like an oversized issue, and we got introduced to Sinmar. And we know we're approaching the end of Bendis's run with only one issue left to go. So, let's crack open 26.
Sorry, did I do that out loud?
Let's crack open 26 here. I actually think the opening page is pretty BA, honestly. Like, the only thing I'm going to miss from Bendis's run, honestly, is the artwork.
Definitely.
As far as Superman goes.
Ivan Rice's art. Danny Mickey, Alex Sinclair. Yeah. Great art team.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been some of the best Superman in a while. But so Superman is fighting. Yeah, I got the right six. Sinmar at the beginning, and he's basically saying, "What are you? Why? What are you doing? What do you want?" And then it cuts to the day before, and it's Lois. And I like just the grid style, like 6-panel grid here on the pages, and them just, I like these of just Superman and Lois talking, very husband and wife. She just walks into the bedroom, and Clark's just laying on the bed in a Superman costume. Like as Superman. Kind of chilling.
Yeah, which has always been kind of like a no-no in their apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Like Batman, you're not allowed to wear the suit in the mansion.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, we're in that point now where everyone knows that Superman and Clark Kent are the same person. So it don't really matter what he does now.
Yep.
Guess what? That's all going to change. You know why? Omniverse, death metal, future state. But anyways, he gets an alert from Kellex, at the fortress, and he goes to the fortress, and I had totally forgotten that Jimmy was asleep at the fortress. And there's Jimmy, this Jimmy looks like he's like a kid. Like this looks like high school Jimmy, or like first year of college internship Jimmy. Like, doesn't look like Jimmy as a man.
He's perpetually young.
I mean, to be nice like that. But so then Clark goes back, and the next part is cool because we see Clark at the Daily Planet, and it's weird because Clark's not wearing his glasses, and Clark starts talking with Lombard, and one of my favorite lines is they're talking, I value our long friendship, and I'll find some way to make it up to you. And Lombard is like, are we friends? And he's
right.
like, sure. And he's like, you didn't think we were? He says, I thought we were competitors. And it's just kind of funny. Lombard was like, I liked that they included him in Man of Steel, and then he just disappeared.
Right.
Where's the other part I like when they're talking about? Oh, hold on. Where is it? It starts right here. Lombard's saying, people know you're here now. Most people knew the people closest to me were in this building. You didn't think this is different? You think this is safe? And Clark says, well, it's only fair that I tell you a long time ago, the Justice League installed the same technology around this building that covers the Hall of Justice. This building and a few other. And we fortified the tech after the Leviathan nonsense. And he says, where is it? He says, so my point is, Steve, we're safer in here than really anywhere else but the Batcave. What's a bat cave?
Oh, okay. What's a bat cave? See him like leaning over asking somebody else, what's a bat cave?
And then Trish Q, you did give Lana Lane an exclusive interview over me. Well, we did go to high school together. You went to high school? It's just kind of like, do people even know Clark,
Right? Like, do they think his entire life was a lie now that he's just revealed himself as Superman?
Exactly. Like, do they not know? Do they not know the depth
Right.
that he was living two lives, like as Clark Kent and Superman? I will say though that
Well, I mean, probably not, but just the idea of like was he he wasn't always Superman. Superman only showed up so long ago, Like, is Clark only 30 at this time, 33, 36 years old?
yeah, probably.
Did he grow up as a child? Like,
I love the artwork right here with the shirt rip of him just standing there. Yeah, because he gets an alert from Kellex that something's coming. And I do want to point out, as a side note here, it is weird, like when you go back and read old books, where there were like advertisement in comic books. And now, when I look at it, the only advertisement that's in a comic book is the Snickers ad. Other than that, everything that's advertised in this is for another DC comic book property.
absolutely.
So it's just kind of weird.
I mean, they got Dread TV and they got something else at the front, but yeah, flipping through all the pages, that's all it is.
Dread TV's at the back, and then in the front it's like Red Morgue Horror Magazine. But yeah, other than that, so we have Superman flying out to meet Sinmar, and he tries to talk with him, and Sinmar just attacks. The artwork is beautiful, and I like for a while that there really is no dialogue. It really is just the art telling us the story. Clark's falling towards the Daily Planet, and everybody's freaking out. Jimmy's looking up, and we realize that Superman and Sinmar are now battling in the Phantom Zone. And Superman just keeps asking, why? Why is he attacking? It was a cool issue. I liked it, but it's something about like Bendis' writing. I feel like I have to just take in like 3 or 4 issues at a time to really feel like I got a chunk of something.
Right. Like, he absolutely writes for a full trade. Heck, he's wrote 26 issues, and, we still have things coming up from the first run.
Yeah, the Invisible Mafia. Okay, for example, let's pop open number 27. Okay. 27. Great black cover. I like it. Future state advertised in there. And I actually really, really like these words. I'm going to, on the first page, because I told them to Jania to read this. I'm like, look at it. Don't even put it in the context of a Superman comic, but just these words. My pa said this might happen. Evil. I don't see pure evil anymore. Even when I stare it in the face, not like I used to. I see pain, I see fear, ignorance, confusion. I know you can't get everyone to see things from the same perspective. So as I get older, I don't see evil. But, and then he goes on, but I really like that kind of discussion point about taking a very outside look at life. And while Sinmar and Superman are battling, we hear a voice, and for a brief moment, because, and I go back to this, because this storyline ended in Supergirl and not Superman, I almost thought that we were going to get Rogol Zar in the Phantom Zone, because I totally forgot what happened to him since his resolution wasn't in this book. But it was... Do you pronounce it as Zadu?
I'm sorry?
Do you pronounce it as Zadu? The Phantom King?
Zadu,
yeah.
I think is how Zadu, I think is how I pronounce it.
But I totally forgot about him. But it was interesting to see him and Clark battling. And, you know, Clark trying to escape the Phantom Zone. The artwork is just, I mean, you could get lost in this artwork. I mean, the Clark in the panel where you just see his eyes as Sinmar takes out Zadu. And I really like when you go over and you have...
Yeah, man, he rocks him.
You know, okay, this is why, to me, art... is very important, is because, and like certain things are staple, I see these two women talking. One is a redhead, one has black hair. I know that it's Lois and Lana. This is why I hate when you mix it up, people. Okay? It's confusing.
Go to your bed now.
But we have...
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. We have Lois and Lana, and we know it's Lois and Lana by the color of their hair and their drawings. And I like that they have this interesting friendship, professional relationship. And I like that she says, here, read this book. I haven't printed it yet. And she says, you want me to read it? And Lois is like, well, if you want to have an honest conversation, we're going to have to read this. I'll order coffee. And she says, there's a typo.
She says, of course there is. Or I'm sure there is.
It's kind of like how I feel like when I write stuff. A lot of times I always had the problem of I would write really fast to get my ideas out, and then I would go back and, you know, correct my spelling or my mechanics, you know, and everything. And I remember I'd get so excited and be like, oh, read this. And like my mom or Geneve and be like, oh, you messed up this. I'm like, stop that. Read for the words that I wrote. Read for the story. Read for the point, the passion of the writing. Don't worry about the mechanics. We'll fix that later. I'm like,
right.
You're getting so hung up on that, you're missing the point.
Yeah. I like that that's a long-standing character trait for Lois. She can't spell for crap being a writer, but she's good. But she's a good writer.
I love it. It makes me happy. You know, it makes me feel like she's one of us. I love that so much of this is
One of us.
Superman talking and trying to fight with Sinmar, and there really is no dialogue from Sinmar.
Yeah, it's I mean, the art's fantastic. Like, he tries to communicate. That's like the entire issue. I mean, how can you write an entire issue where two people can't communicate?
And it's interesting because he's like, they call me Kal-El, Superman. Superman. He goes, Sinmar. He goes, Sinmar, I am Superman. Unless Sinmar means, like he's talking to himself, unless Sinmar means Superman. And then, like, you know, he's trying every language and everything he knows. And they're just fighting and they're battling and they're going through. They bust out of the Phantom Zone. Zadu tries to escape.
Opens a portal from the Phantom Zone out by Saturn.
Yeah, he has to.
Which is pretty cool looking.
let's see. Superman's trying. He's like, show me what's wrong. I'm not your enemy. I can help. And Sinmar takes off. And you hear like Kellex talking like, travel is ill-advised. You would be lost in space. You're heading to uncharted territory, which is crazy. Like, that there's uncharted space in like, with all the Green Lanterns and everything, you know, like, and I feel like it's a big thing. And then,
Right, you think the Owens would have been there.
well, I feel like this is just a big story that Bendis has to wrap up in one book, you know, and we find out that he gets into space with a planet.
Unless he's dropping the J.J. Abrams box.
Probably, and then guess what? The next writer's just like, I ain't dealing with that crap. You know, he gets out there, and it's got an orange sun. Let's see.
Which is interesting. We know, like, what did a blue sun do to them? What did a blue sun do to Kryptonians?
Didn't it just kind of neutralize them?
Is that what it did?
I think so. And, you know, he says, you can see, like, he's starting to feel shaky and weird. And he's like,
Like the orange star, like, paralyzes him.
yeah. And Sinmar starts actually talking to him. He says, here, I can understand you. Here, our way creates a communication gateway to each other's intent. The fight is over. Without your solar empowerment, there is no fight to pursue. You know, and he says, I have no idea where I am or why I'm here. Who are you and why did you attack me? I offer you. And Sinmar says, your surrender is noted. And Superman tries to say, I do not. And then it just says, our entire collective grants and will watch your final punishment. And it says, to be continued. And, you know, like we've talked about and stuff before, I have an issue where Superman flies out into space to do stuff. Because your powers are so much built around the idea of the yellow sun of Earth that you don't know where you're going. You know, your powers are supposed to be like a battery.
Right. It's like with the Supergirl book that started when she left Earth to find out who was responsible for the destruction of Krypton after Rogol Zaar showed up. She got a new suit, and the new suit actually had a yellow solar charge. Like she could absorb a yellow solar charge and would keep her super powered in space.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, comic book super science, yes it does.
You know,
And it drained after so long. She didn't have enough power from the suit to continually keep her going.
but yeah, I mean, I always felt like in future state, I guess Superman's going to be like a gladiator in space. And I'm just kind of like, how does that work if you don't have a yellow sun, man? Like, it's your biggest weakness, more than kryptonite, is the fact that you're dependent on Earth's, solar energy.
Well, so if we go back to the original incarnation of Superman, Kryptonians were still far beyond humans. Their general physiology was still that far beyond humans. It was, so when they came here, when he came here, he was just better than us. He was an alien, but he was just better than us. And then as his powers began to expand and grow, and that's when they gave him his powers provided by the sun and things like that, and that's when it really expanded. So I still think at the core of the character, even when he's depowered, now that after years of training with Bruce and Diana, he's a formidable combatant and still, better than human.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, they have made his abilities revolve around the sun, and he's not Superman if he's not around a yellow star, but still, I think it still resonates from the beginning, from the core of the character that, physiologically they are better than us from being a much older race. True. They've evolved beyond that. They've physically evolved beyond. So, just something I thought of right then when you brought up how can he be a gladiator in space.
So, all right. So that's that book. Now let's migrate over to the other famous Superman title. That next week we get 1027. But we have Action Comics 1026. I got the variant cover for this because I really like just the art. And you know how I feel.
Is that Gary Frank's cover with all four of the Super family?
It's all
Superman, both Superboys, and Kara?
It's all four of the Super family, but it's not Gary Frank's. I'm going to take a picture and send it to you. Oh, let's try to send it up here in just a minute.
Maybe it's 27 that Gary Franks is coming out on.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Like, one thing I like about the alternative covers and everything is just how simplistic they are. Like, they don't have all the big numbering. They don't have the big logos. They don't have the words or anything like they used to. Like the regular standard comic book covers look like old comic book covers.
Yeah.
And these look very more sophisticated.
I'll tell you one thing about this issue that bugged me is I had to keep flipping my damn book to read it.
Oh, I know. That pissed me off. And it just,
first you have to turn it left and then you have to frickin' turn it upside down.
Yep.
And then you got to turn it right and then you got to turn it left.
Yep. And I was trying to read it in bed, and I was like, she was trying to lay on her shoulder on me. And I'm turning, and she's like, what do you? I'm trying to read this damn book, Jania.
Yeah.
And once again, this book doesn't have a lot of dialogue in it. We have the Super family fighting, and we have we have one more issue left of this. And I like this story because I like seeing the four of the Super family together. Red Cloud is here. And
yeah, we have lots of discussions on the Super family and Connor's future in the DC universe.
And Red Cloud is trying to choke out Superman, and you have...
That's interesting, though, that it works on him, because after this long, when he talks about her powers and how it affects him, is because they seem to have an extra-dimensional effect on him.
Isn't she from an alternate Earth? We learned.
It seems like from it looks like in a older action book. It seems like Leon, who was the girl? Oh, the Star Labs doctor, and Red Cloud. I don't know if Red Cloud is from Earth 3, but it seems like Leon and the Star Labs doctor are from Earth 3, because we get them the crime syndicate out the window in an introduction between the two, which actually is kind of cool, because it ties over to Young Justice, which I've read, and her interactions with Superboy in that run. with Connor in that run.
And I'd like more with good old Khan. But they brought him back. They're doing stuff with him. He's an interesting character. And there's a lot you can do with him. And but yeah, this I think what's also interesting is in this story is just like while the super family is fighting, you have them trying to say that this isn't the real Lois Lane, that she has proof that she's not the real Lois Lane. Lois Lane, is getting arrested. So I don't know. It's interesting, and
Yeah, by the end of the book, yeah.
It's like, is this issue annoyed me, like you said, because of like, what do you call it? The flipping.
Yeah, having to flip the book to be able to read it.
And I feel like that takes away from the story because now I'm focusing on that. And I'm not a huge Romita Jr. art fan, but I'm liking this storyline just because I like that it's Superboy, Superman, Supergirl. And I'm interested to see what they do with here. Because, I like those threads. I like Connor being back. And what are they going to do with Connor being back?
Definitely. Well, we know Young Justice is ending too, and so is Bendis's run on Action. Maybe we'll get, like I said, moving forward, maybe we'll get a little bit more of a, for lack of a better term, a Superman family or a House of Kent book, as it were.
Man, I'll tell you, Superman family. I need a Superman family cartoon series. Okay. Because you know how much of a pain in the butt it is to watch stuff with my kids? Like, we're watching Young Justice, and Salah's like, where's Supergirl? When does Supergirl show up? She's not there, baby. Why is Supergirl? Or then we're watching something else, and, like, Salma's like, where's Superboy? He's not here. Why not? It's just Supergirl right now. It's like...
Right.
It's like, come on. I need a series with Superboy and Supergirl in it. And frankly, I think it's time with the way Young Justice works, you bring Supergirl in season 4.
Sounds good to me.
I think...
with the idea of it being phantoms, it could present itself as a good thing. Like, she could be the first full-blooded Kryptonian that Superman has met, like beyond like Zod or somebody trapped in the Phantom Zone. In the Young Justice universe, like Supergirl could be the first family he's ever encountered in Young Justice.
There's a lot to do, and like Brian and I have been kind of like coming up with our own storyline. We've been talking about certain characters, and we kind of came up with a concept. And what we've done is he's working on like his story, an idea with the concept, and I'm building my story with the concept. And it's using certain legacy characters who a lot of times get forgotten or have just kind of this presence that's diminished because of something else, because of either there's another version of that character or whatever it is that ends up being. So I don't want to give it all away on the podcast, because if I ever get to actually write this thing, it'll be dope. But yeah, that's kind of caught up on the comics for the Superman books. But yeah, we had Batman Superman 13 to do. I almost forgot that one. I feel like I'm at that point where like it's late. I'm like, man, I don't want to go to sleep, but then I'm like, I can't drink coffee. Is it
Right.
weird? Like, okay, for example, I had the alternate cover for Action. Okay, the variant.
Right.
I have the variant cover for this, and the variant cover for this is like printed on cardstock paper, and it's just kind of like
Isn't that what all the variants are on?
it's supposed to be, but
Isn't that why they're all $1 more?
it's supposed to be, but my variant for 1026 wasn't.
Oh, interesting.
Right, and then there's another new book that I had that the paper inside felt completely different. You know, and it's kind of throwing me because that's what I thought was like, oh, the variants, because, you know, usually the variants I buy are the Bermejo, Batman, and Detective ones.
Yeah.
They're all cardstock. But like I said, that 1026 wasn't. And this one is. And then like a couple of the newer books that I just read, the paper on the inside felt different. And I'm like, this is weird. Like Phil says, just go back to printing on newspaper. It's cheaper and it makes your books more valuable because they can deteriorate. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So let's get into this. We have a very interesting team up with, Steel, who's kind of like the forgotten uncle of the Super family, and Batwoman. Coming to the aid of Superman and Batman, who are on the moon, who are trapped fighting robots of their greatest villains. But I guess if you're going to be stuck on the moon fighting your greatest villains is probably a good way to go.
I mean, I suppose. I don't know if I want to be in a perpetual battle with a computer program that is trying to learn about all of your greatest villains, trying to learn from you and learn the best, how to learn everything about all of your greatest villains.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking as I'm reading through this, so they're fighting Brainiac. Brainiac, Batman and Superman are upset that Steel and Batwoman are there. And Brainiac, of course, builds a robot together, perfect fighting machine that is part Batman, part Superman, and heads to Earth to attack Earth. And what I was sitting there thinking is, what would happen if Brainiac got inside a Mazo? Like, isn't a Mazo supposed to be the most sophisticated, powerful android? Like, what would happen if Brainiac constructed or took over a Mazo?
Interesting.
Exactly. See? Wouldn't he be unstoppable? I don't know.
I thought this was I thought the problem here that they ran into is they thought it was Brainiac, and it actually turns out to be the program they were writing to try and get get ahead of the villains or something.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is.
I forget where that was the story that ended with them talking about something.
I feel like it was a little convoluted. It's one of those
before Batman and Superman launched.
That's why I say because the end is that the book issue itself is called Planet Brainiac Part 2. So I don't know. It has all the Brainiac kind of symbols in the background. It was good. I feel like the Batman Superman book started really strong in some ways. It was all around the Batman Who Laughs, and then it was okay, but I don't know. It's actually, I feel like it's been kind of the weakest Batman Superman like I've read in a while.
The art is really great.
The art is
very good.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just the story wise, like, I don't know. I feel like it's just been.
Oh yeah, here it is. It says it's not really. It says you're not playing fair, Batman. You would never use such brutality on your enemies. It's not really them, and you're not Brainiac. You're a rogue program that broke into my computer and turned my villain profiles into this playland.
There you go.
I knew I read that.
Spoken from the man himself. Straight out of the horse's mouth. Not that James is a horse, but. But it's late, man. Anything else we want to add on to our comics here? I feel like
I mean, I would say something about Young Justice, but honestly, these last two issues were not really about Connor in any way. They were about the Teen Lantern, and Cassie Sandsmark,
which we talked about earlier. Cassie gets no love. And she's one of those almost forgotten, like, third tier. Like, I always thought it'd be kind of fun to write, like, a book that's like a third tier where it's like Cassie, Tim, Bart, and Kyle or Guy. I don't know. It gets confusing with the lanterns, you know. But kind of the third tier, forgotten, mixed up, amalgamized character that never gets any love outside of comics because it's too hard to get to that person.
Right. I mean, you'd think with all these seasons of television, they would get there. But, I mean, it's kind of hard to get there when, you focus on a single character and you put them through a lot of filler stories and dramatic irony and, take them one step forward and two steps back sometimes.
Mm-hmm. That's why I know they did the whole, like, they tried to do, like, the excess thing on the Flash, like, in everything, but really, like, they need to just bring this season of the Flash, they need to bring Bart in. And Bart needs to become basically either two things need to happen this season on The Flash. One, we need some sort of like rebirth event where like the Wally West from another dimension breaks through, and we kind of have that retcon Wally thing, like we have two Wally Wests, or we get Bart, and Bart becomes Barry's new protege, his new like pal that actually played the role of what Kid Flash really should have been like. Because, Barry's not going to have no buddy because Elongated Man is gone and Cisco is pretty much on his way out from the show. And he's not Vibe anymore. So
I don't know. I thought he was Vibe again after Crisis.
Well, he got his powers back, but he was leaving. Like the actor wanted to be done with Cisco, so like he was trying to get out.
Oh.
So and they're trying to build up this whole new Team Flash with what's Allegra or whatever, and I don't know, like wasn't that her name? Was it Allegra?
Yeah. I think that sounds familiar.
See, that's just how little.
It sounds right.
That's how little they mean to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the one that Nash treats like a daughter and works with Iris. Yeah,
I mean,
she has the UV powers.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, out of every season of any CW show, the first season of The Flash is probably the best they've ever produced. Or I might even say that season 2 of The Flash is amazing. Season 2 of Arrow is amazing. But the season 1 of The Flash, hands down, I think is the best superhero television the CW has ever done.
I'm looking forward to what they do with Godspeed. I think they have open territory for the most part with Godspeed, and man, that costume looks fantastic.
Yes, it does.
It's probably the best speedster costume they've produced on this show, and they've had some pretty good ones.
They've had a lot of speedsters on their show.
Yeah, and they've had some pretty good ones. I mean, a lot of them were just, leather, and they look pretty good. I mean, Flash has got better over the years.
I like that.
Zoom's pretty cool. But
I like that
this
Flash
one
is
definitely.
His suit was a constant, upgrade. They had to keep working on it. I like that.
I thought by now, if they go one more season, they better give Barry the yellow boots.
Isn't that all it's left, basically?
Pretty much.
So, yeah, I think it's all that's really left for Barry. The yellow boots, I mean, it's weird in the fact that even John Wesley Shipp, with how great his costume was, never had the yellow boots.
Right. Yeah, I think he should get them. If they go one more season, because so far in images I've seen, he does not have them this season.
Well, let's see. I feel like they've been very, like we talked about before, they've been very kind of, I feel like everything's a little hush-hush,
I think there's a little less leaks because there's not as many people.
Everything's, and everything's kind of quiet, it's weird because, it's hard to get excited for anything because, did we talk about, I think we did, that Wonder Woman, was it? No, we didn't talk about it because, right? Because we just found out
we
at the end
didn't
of our
speak
recording.
about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but basically Wonder Woman, now they're looking at pushing it until next year or doing an HBO Max thing. Or I say, don't do HBO Max. I say just do a digital release and then plan a theatrical release as an extended cut or something. Because at this point, there's people out there who are like, we're going to wait. We'll wait longer to see it how it's intended on the big screen. You know what? All the other companies are looking at ways of ignoring the big screen because no one's for sure when or if theaters are going to open. And every movie has a shelf life. I'm sorry. You have already... all the hype towards Wonder Woman is kind of gone. There's no more market tie-in. I've seen all the toys have been, kind of discounted or disappeared. All the merchandise has been disappeared and discounted. There's promotional stuff you can find that says the different dates, and the biggest thing was they should have kept the October date and just dropped it digitally. Released it in theaters and digital all on the same day.
Well, I heard that there are other companies that are exploring the idea. Maybe Warner Brothers is one of them. Exploring the idea of the limited theater run, about making it, only available in theater or solely available in theaters for a few weeks and then releasing it digitally.
And that's what they should have done in October, because by now, you've moved it around so many times.
We'd just be getting it digitally right now.
I mean, in all reality, we should have already owned it. Because, it was supposed to be November of last year, and then June, then August, then October.
Yeah. It was November, then they moved it up a short time. They moved it up a short time into October, and then they moved it back to June away from Joker. And then since then, it's just moved farther and farther because of 2020.
You know, and like the movie's done. It's been done. Like they should have already been working on Wonder Woman 3. You know, I feel like all that goodwill that was built up in fandom for it was like kind of like a way of re-energizing it. It's gone. You know,
At this point, they either need to do, you know, maybe a limited theatrical and then the digital release, or there's no guarantee that you could even go back to theaters come, say, if they released Justice League in like March or something on HBO Max, and then they released that in May in theaters. There's no saying that people will be able to go to theaters, or people will be comfortable enough to go to theaters by May.
yeah. I mean, you know, TV's just now back in session, but I mean, look at Disney. Disney is producing quality content. Their goal is now they're not going to focus as much on is it going to be for a theatrical release or are we just going to do it on Disney Plus. They're really going to push their services farther.
Well, you know, I mean, they want to grow their streaming brand, and there's a lot of revenue coming from that. I mean, they've got 65 to 70 million subscribers worldwide, which is, you know, half as much as like say Netflix, or just a little under half as much as say Netflix, because they've been around for a lot longer. But they also, Disney Plus is also worldwide. All these other ones like like HBO Max, that's got like 30 something million activations. It's a good number, but it's also only in this region.
Yeah.
It's not worldwide like Disney Plus.
You know, so I don't know. It's just, you know, I mean, Disney's dropping its newest Pixar film, Soul, on Disney Plus. They're not doing that Mulan premiere thing. They're going to actually just Christmas Day, Soul is on Disney Plus, the newest Pixar film. And that's exciting, you know, that's something to look forward to. It's weird it's on Christmas Day because I got other stuff going on, but it's something nice to look forward to as far as the entertainment and the fact that it's new and it's high quality. But all right, man, let's get out of here. I think my kids are running around upstairs. They were in bed, but they have no sense
I hear
of time.
mine laughing. They're supposed to be asleep. I'm about to go to sleep. They need to take their butts to sleep.
That's how I feel. Like I never sleep because I can't sleep till my kids are asleep, and then my kids wake up and they want me awake. I'm like, Daddy, why are you so tired? I'm like, 'cause your kids don't go to bed.
I do not miss having young children in that respect.
So
You always have to get up with them.
I got really bad about like, oh, here's the iPad. Just curl up next to Daddy in bed.
Yeah. Well,
But
like
we're
to
hungry.
this day, I can go to sleep with them laying against me. Like, you know, it's funny. I always think of the Crude sleep pile.
Oh yeah. Speaking of the Crudes, still supposed to get the second one, and think like, what, next week?
Is it next week?
Yeah, because it was.
I'm not sure of the release date.
Because it was
My
around
kids are excited
Thanksgiving.
for it.
So are mine, and Solomon, he's the one that got excited. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I always think of the Crude sleep pile, though, because even to this day, when my kids lay with me, lay up against me, like, I can fall right asleep, because there was a time when I was working third shift, and that was one of the times my ex had something to do, and I was working thirds, and I had to be home with the kids, but I also needed a little bit of sleep. So I laid them down with me, and they got to watch TV, and, you know, I put on PBS, and they got to watch PBS, and I got a few hours worth of sleep, and then I could go back to sleep again a little bit later before I had to go back to work. But I would always lay them down on me so they could watch it, and when they got up, I would wake up. When they got up to leave, go do something, I would wake up. Mm-hmm. So I got used to falling asleep with them laying on me, sitting back up against me like I'm a big pillow or something. And I got used to it. So now to this day, I can just have them curl up next to me and I'm out. I can take a nap like that. All I have to do is get my kids to come lay with me.
Nope, I totally get it. So, but all right, man.
That won't last. They're 10 and 11, so that's about to be done soon.
Let's get out of here. Let's get some sleep. Remember, good listeners, James and I need rest.
Yes, we do.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look at the sky.